Hi everyone. Tonight's lesson is going to be about the Declaration of Independence, and we're really going to look at this pretty simply as a breakup letter. It's a little bit of persuasive writing in that you'll see that we're giving justification and explaining why we are doing what we're doing with England. And so as we go through this, we'll be talking about different aspects and some of the individuals who basically presented these ideas to England. And this is setting us up for what you'll be doing over the next couple of days, working with a partner to have your own breakup letter with King George or England, which we'll go over a little bit later on. There are some objectives I want you to get out of this. As I stated a little bit earlier, there are some key parts to this, and basically reasons why we broke up from England. And this will start the revolution, but breaking up with somebody like in real life, if you have this relationship, it usually doesn't just disappear unless there's some problems. So we're going to look at the different acts. You'll see these in the document. We'll review some of the problems that we were having with England, which ultimately will lead to first declaration and then itself war. So as we look at this document, like I said, I want you to see it as persuasive writing, because we're not just trying to explain to England why we're breaking away, but to the rest of the world we're giving our justification for this bold maneuver. This had never been done before. We also need to understand that this is a collaborative effort. This was not just done by one person. Even Thomas Jefferson is credited with the writing of the Declaration of Independence. This was done in a committee or a group of people who helped write the document, and obviously it took many members from the different colonies to basically establish this idea of separation. And last, like I said, we'll kind of give you an idea of what it is that you are expected to do in your assignment. So by looking at this structure, you'll be able to go back and look at it and follow the basic guidelines of what happened in the document to support and give ideas for your own writing assignment. So let's get to it. So the Declaration of Independence, you probably recognize that date up there, July 4th, 1776. We celebrate the 4th of July because basically it's the birth of our nation. And this is when the document was officially given and basically started our freedom, at least in our own mind. Remember, England did not just let us go. We had to fight for that freedom. So in our book, if you ever want to refer to it, the Declaration of Independence is on page 182 to 185. And you can look at it there, and I'll also tell you a little bit later on where you can find it as well. But like I told you earlier, there was a committee. And then here are some of the people that were on that committee. You might recognize two of them as former presidents. We have John Adams and Thomas Jefferson, and Jefferson was the primary author. We also have Ben Franklin, who was one of the great Enlightenment thinkers. And then there's two other individuals you may not know. Their names are Roger Sherman and Robert Livingston. Like I said, the primary author, as we've already discussed, was Thomas Jefferson. Now, there are 6 parts to this declaration, and you'll hear historians talk about different parts. I like to break it up into 6 parts because I think the signature part is really important as well. So here we go. The first part is the introduction, and basically it states to England what it is we intend to do. The second part is called the preamble, and you'll see some famous words from that. And it's the general beliefs of the new government and giving some reasoning behind what is about to happen. The third part might be one of the most powerful parts, and it's the list of grievances, which means why it is that we're going to break away from England. Like I said, there's going to be a laundry list of examples we give to England why we're upset with them. The fourth part talks about the attempts by the colonies to avoid separation, and we'll go over that a little bit more. But basically, we explain to them, we try to reach out to you, we try to fix the problems, and then you basically ignore us. Then we have our conclusion. After all these steps have been taken, we have no choice but to be separate from England. We need to break apart. And then last, I said we have the signature aspect. To England, these people who signed this document were traitors, and it was treason, and that was punishable by death. And some people did die when they were captured by the British. Now, our introduction. I've underlined for you some important words. I'm not going to read them all to you because I know you can read by yourself. But the introduction is sharing our intent of separation. Now there's certain words in there that you probably recognize though, like dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another. So dissolving means it's separating, they're disappearing. And at the very bottom, it says they should declare the causes which impel them to separation. So like I said earlier, if you're breaking up with somebody, usually the first question they ask, well, why are you breaking up? In this document, we're telling them, we will tell you the reasons why. The preamble, I will read this part. You've probably heard it. It's probably the most famous aspect of the Declaration of Independence. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So what this basically is telling England, as it says down here, that our natural rights have not been met, God-given rights, that's where it says Creator, and so we'll be separating because our rights are not meeting the needs, so you're not meeting the needs of our people. So we call that the natural rights of man. You probably recognize them from this individual. This is John Locke. We've covered them when we went over the Enlightenment period. And John Locke was very important about giving certain ideas, which I said just a second ago, that this is life and liberty. But we switched out John Locke's idea. His third idea was property. And we changed that last aspect. Thomas Jefferson incorporated the idea of pursuit of happiness. And if a government, I said, is not providing these opportunities for you, natural rights of man, then they should have the right to separation. We also need to look at common sense. Remember at this time, a very important pamphlet called Common Sense by Thomas Paine was a top seller in the Americas, and it helped get people to realize that any king was a bad king. So no one should have absolute rule over us, which the monarch did, and so we felt that we needed to break away. Now there's a list of grievances here. If you go through it in the book or even on the webpage I'll give you later on, the link, there's a laundry list of problems we had with England and King George specifically. So if you say it, look down here, it says he in red. That is because there are a number of problems that we are placing on King George. So there he is, King George. That's the guy we're blaming all the problems on. And that's who we are separating from, King George and England. We also need to understand that we stated to them, and also we did do these actions, we tried to avoid separation, or we tried to show our displeasure, and it came in a number of ways. Sometimes it was not necessarily the peaceful manner, but we did peaceful protest, we did violent protest, we destroyed the British property, that's the Boston Tea Party. We did a number of things, and then we did one last ditch attempt to make it work. That was called the Olive Branch Petition, which we've covered. Even after all this, England did not respond, so really we're down to one last thing. Right? We have petitioned for redress, that means we have reached out to you. Our petitions have only been met with repeated injury, so each time we reach out to you, you slap our hand away basically. Like I said, this is really an easy way to kind of look at it. This is just a breakup letter. And, you know, we do social studies, which is just like a relationship. But this time it's two countries that are in a relationship, and they're having troubles, and it's going to lead to, ultimately, separation. So our last thing with England, we're going to declare ourselves free, and we're no longer part of England. And then this last conclusion also states what we will be able to do as a new country. It says wage war, agree to peace, make alliances, set up economic powers as a free and independent government. But basically, it's all free of England. So like I said, I won't read all this for you. You'll be able to look at this yourself. But ultimately, as you look through this, we are free and independent states. Once again, there's that word. The bond between Great Britain and ourselves is totally dissolved. And the last part of red explains the powers which we have. So, in our mind, we were now free. In England's mind, not so much. That's why the war has to be fought. So this basically just solidified the war. So we'd have to fight for these freedoms that we're declaring. England's not going to let us go. So it's almost like that abusive relationship where the person says, if I can't have you, no one will. And so that's what the war kind of starts from. The last part, part 6, is the signature aspect. All the people that signed this from the Second Continental Congress basically were putting their lives on the line. They were committing treason. They were going against King George in England, the ruler. And so that's where we come in now. What's next for us? I would like you to go over that and kind of get some ideas of what you might want to say in your breakup letter. You could be working with a partner, which I'll talk about a little bit more tomorrow, but I'll show you in just a second. But you should start thinking about the main reasons for breaking up from England. I put over here the link of the National Archives. This lets you look at it on a computer, so it might be a little bit easier than your textbook. But ultimately, our goal here is to have our own breakup letter. Just like Jefferson and his committee did, you're going to collaborate with a partner, and you're going to try to reinforce the ideas that we had covered in this class to show that A, England was abusing us, not allowing us to have certain rights. You probably remember that taxation without representation idea. And then you're going to have to ride that with your partner and showing knowledge and evidence of the reasons why we broke away. So I look forward to you guys coming in tomorrow with any questions, and we'll take care of all our business then. And other than that, just have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.